All right, and just a moment there also to start the live stream using a different laptop tonight. So anyway, this is Neil, W2NDG from Highland, New York. And this is the OMARC Sunday Night Science and Technology Net. We meet here every Sunday night at 8 p.m. and discuss science and technology, not necessarily ham radio related. We are on the repeater of the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club on 146.805 megahertz with a negative shift of 600 kilohertz and a PL tone of 103.5. We are also on YouTube at my own YouTube channel, W2NDG Science and Technology. You can just search for that, W2NDG Science and Technology, and you'll find us live on there or the previous archived sessions as well. Let's pause a moment. I am usually joined by my partner in crime, Jim K2BHM, but I believe he had told me that he was going to be traveling tonight. But I will double check in case his plans have changed. Jim, are you around tonight? Okay, nothing heard. So we're flying solo tonight, which is fine. I don't have a specific topic. I was thinking of one, but I don't know if anybody wants to go in that direction or not. So I think what we're going to do tonight is take check-ins and see if anybody has anything in particular they want to talk about. We're all a little, I think, exhausted from eating turkey and then eating more turkey and sometimes eating more turkey. I know it was a pretty busy Thanksgiving weekend for me, but I feel like I did get something accomplished, but I've got to be back in Manhattan tomorrow morning. I can't wait till I can drop these Mondays in the city again, but for now, I need to be there. So let's take check-ins, and then we'll go around and see what people might want to talk about. So to check into the Overlook Mountain Science and Technology Net, you come with your name, your call sign, and your location. Please come now.
This is WA2RKN, Jerry, Hyde Park. Sounds like maybe it'll be a short net tonight. This is Kilo Bravo 2, Romeo Whiskey Whiskey, 5, mobile, checking in only. Net control. Here is KB2, GGF, Matt in Kerhunction. And works a lot better if you transmit using your microphone and not your mouse. W2NDG. This is Kilo Delta 2, Tango Victor Sierra, Lou, West Milford, New Jersey. This is November 2 Foxtrot Zulu Charlie, Tom and Frisco.
All right. I think that's it for the check-ins here. Let's run through the list and then we'll ask if there's anyone else. I have WA2RK and Jerry in Hyde Park. KB2RWW, Bob, check-in only. KB2GGF, Matt in Kerhunction. And yes, Matt, I'm also reminded of a Star Trek movie, Jimmy picking up a mouse and saying, "Computer." KD2 TVS, Lou in West Milford, welcome. And N2FCC, Tom in Fishkill. Is there anybody else tonight? Please come down. All right, nothing heard. So, like I said, let's see if anybody has anything specific that they want to talk about tonight. And it can be ham radio related, that's fine. There's enough to talk about that I never worry about stealing Dave's Thursday Night Thunder. So, some of you heard what I did today. My day of technology was swapping out my router system for a new one, which didn't start out well, but ended up fine. So, and I mentioned we're using a new laptop for the stream tonight. New to me anyway. Well, it is pretty new. It's a work laptop, though. I just wanted to see how it would do. It's different than the ones I usually use because it's very locked down from a security point of view. So I was curious what I could actually do with it. I have it because I need to have it. I need to be able to duplicate the experience of some of the users I support. So I'd run into some situations recently with people who have gotten these new remote office laptops that my employer is offering, and having issues with a couple of the services that I take care of and maintain. So, once again, I have to have the same environment in order to support it. But actually, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm a Dell guy. I like Dell computers, and even with its slightly more locked down nature, I'm pretty happy with it. So anyway, that's where we are here. Other technology going on here. Getting ready to get a couple of antennas in the air. The snow put me back a little bit, but not a lot. And just playing with some other stuff, basics, tracking down some weird electrical things here. Nothing that's going to cause a fire or anything. I just didn't understand why some of the things were wired the way they were, and unraveling that mystery. But whatever you guys want to talk about, let's go around. I have a weird topic that we can fall back on if nobody has one, but we can reserve that for another night. So, Jerry, WA2RKN, what's going on in Jerryland?
Just the usual frustration working with computers. Swap video cards around on the bus and booting into different versions of operating systems. Right now, I can't get the BIOS to display. I know I'm booting to a certain point, so I'll have to swap video cards around again because it does work if some magic combination is acquired. But we don't want to spend the night talking about this kind of crap. I don't know, something different. We already discussed food on other planets when we set up colonies. I'm of the firm belief that we need to put another link in the food chain up there, put chickens in there and feed the insects to the chickens instead of to the people. You get meat, you get eggs. WA2RKN, back to that.
All right. Yeah, I don't mind discussing the computer stuff, as you know, but yeah. Your BIOS settings, there is a legacy video setting that affects what the BIOS settings themselves actually go out over. And I've inadvertently changed that setting myself a couple of times and ended up with the same situation where I can't see the BIOS screen. Sometimes a complete reset of the BIOS is necessary, and then just start configuring from scratch. But yeah, that could be what happened. Some of those legacy settings do more than you think they do, or do something different than you thought they did. But as I said, the phantom screen thing when we discussed it before, but if there is an onboard video, I don't know where it would be sending it. I once, as I've always told you and everyone else, this is what I deal with. I deal with the weird stuff. And, I've certainly seen my share of computers where the motherboards and the BIOS just didn't do what you thought they were going to do. And the more you dug into it, the more you realized, oh, hey, we made a mistake. You might want to do this BIOS update that'll fix it. So stuff like that happens all the time. But all right. My other topic was also food oriented, but I didn't get a whole lot of chance to do any back research on it at all. But we'll see. We'll see what else comes up here. KB2GGF, Matt. What's going on at Kerhonkson tonight?
Well, I'm always up for a bit of, and maybe I need some because, yeah, man, I picked up my mouse and attempted to speak into it. And then, no, that didn't work. Better use the microphone. This might be why I don't like hand mics. But anyway, worn out topic, but antennas. I've been reading about Moxon, MOXON antennas, which look kind of interesting. But other than that, nothing really much on my mind, technology-wise. So back to that. KB2GGF.
The Moxon antenna, which for the higher bands can be made out of a coat hanger and some insulators and some other things. I've often wanted to build one of those myself. It is an interesting antenna. It can be used in both polarizations, horizontal and vertical. I remember when I was looking into my flat foil window antenna idea, I wanted to know which way a Moxon actually radiated in its different orientations. So what I was looking for was a flat antenna that radiated out of its plane, out of its flat plane, so perpendicular to its orientation. And I have found there is something that'll do it, but it's kind of a controversial design. I had a basic one I made out of foil alarm tape, basically. I have some copper tape and started experimenting with it. I have to get back to that someday because the idea was to take one of these and sew it into something that looked nice, like a small wall quilt or something to that effect, for people who don't have a place for an antenna at all and just want a decent receiving antenna. Although something like this, if I can get it to work the way I want, would also work for transmitting at lower powers, like with an HT or something like that. I wouldn't want to put 50 watts into it. Although it might make a nice, warming throw blanket or heating pad. It also might make a nice fire hazard. But yeah, I don't know a lot about the Moxons technically, so I can't really discuss much further into that because I'm sure there's a whole discussion as to how it works and why it works. But we could discuss other interesting shape antennas if people wanted to. But anyway, we'll see. On to KD2 TVS, Lou in West Milford. Let's say, how are things in Jersey? But West Milford doesn't always seem like it's part of New Jersey to me. It's just part of southern Orange County black dirt country,
Yeah, good evening, Neil, and everybody else on the net. Yeah, it kind of does seem like we're so close, like 5 minutes from the border that I was figured to be closer, to being part of Warwick than it would be its hometown. But it is what it is. But yeah, I missed you last week. I guess you weren't on the net. I switched on, and I guess maybe you did make an announcement or something that you weren't going to be on. So I was watching a couple of your videos on YouTube, and I was enthused by the one you did a few weeks back on the hacks, and it's not necessarily just software and computer hacks, but everything else, just jury rigging everything up to work one way or another when something breaks. yeah, you guys talking about computers, and yeah, you guys, I do have two Dell desktops here. One runs my Linux Mint, and the other one's running Windows 10. I do like my Linux Mint. I always find it always runs so much smoother. And it's funny how sometimes how we swap things and on these computers and don't realize why certain things happen. I was noticing the other day the one that runs the Linux Mint was booting up kind of slow because I used to keep it in like a standby sleep mode and revive it from there. And then notice that when you restart it, then all of a sudden it took like forever to start up. And these were, I remember when I bought them, they were refurbished from Micro Center. And I guess when they refurbished them or something, I don't know, they may put little crappy DVD drives in them and stuff. So they never really worked smoothly, make noises and stuff like that. So I have a couple of small external drives that plug in USB wise. And I kept looking at the codes. Let me just reset. Oh, the little statement that gives you when it's starting up, and I kept on messing in USB. I said, like USB, what would that be? And then I realized I had plugged that external USB drive into it, and I guess it doesn't like it. I guess for some reason or another, it slows everything down. Once I unplugged that, everything went back to normal. And you guys were just talking about the BIOS to updating it. This is an older computer, but I'm looking at. And since I remember changing the CMOS battery in it earlier this year because it kept on giving me an error code. And I done my BIOS dates and that stuff was off. Date and time was off. I guess what Linux Mint compensates for it on the program. Doesn't say anything, but changing it now anyway. But back to you, Neil. Whatever you guys want to continue on with, I'll play the game. So I guess we'll loop around round two. So back to you, Neil. KD2TVS.
No, that's fine, Luke. And yeah, thanks for bringing up the hack, I think is what I called that episode. And that's, it's kind of what got me into the kind of computing I do at work. Although, I have to stay within the bounds of a corporate environment. I have been referred to frequently as the X-Files computer guy because people will bring me things that they just can't figure out. But that's how I started, You can't run Windows on that thing. Watch me, and that's a lot of what I did. And I had one of the first non-Android phones running Android, all sorts of stuff like that. I always like shoehorning things where they don't belong. And Linux Mint, I was an early adopter of that distribution. I've always had a soft spot for it. I found it much cleaner, and I liked the direction they headed in, or at least stayed in, when Ubuntu decided to adopt the weird interface they seem to love. Mint kept it basic and clean, and I really liked what they did. So it's usually my first choice, but these days I find myself putting Linux on some older computers, and my choice for an older system is one called Linux Lite, which is also Ubuntu based like Mint, and very similar, but designed to be much lower overhead, and runs really well on some of these older computers. So I've seen USB issues with Linux and other machines as well. But yeah, sometimes devices don't do what we think they're going to do. And some of these USB drives have some weird configurations going on, especially some of the ones that come with encryption, until you remove that feature, some of them will present themselves to your system as two drives, one of them appearing almost like a CD, like a bootable optical drive. And that's what then launches the ability to unlock the rest of it. And I'm pretty sure that there's definitely some systems that don't like that. Let me try. W2NDG on the OMARC Sunday Night Science and Technology Net. When I worked at AOL, America Online, I worked at corporate headquarters in New York. After they had moved corporate headquarters to New York, we had a rash of systems that stopped booting after a Windows update had gone through. And I think it may have been a Dell BIOS update as well, or maybe that's what triggered it. But we had they were the D series latitudes that were docked. We had a lot of employees that carried a laptop, and when they got into the office, stuck it in a docking station and had a nice monitor and everything. We had these deluxe Dell docking stations that were also, little monitor platforms in some cases, and they worked really well. But a whole bunch of them stopped booting one week, and we managed to find the common denominator. It was anybody who had an iPod plugged in to their docking station. And if they plugged in the iPod before they powered up or docked or rebooted at some point, for some reason, the presence of that USB drive stopped those machines from booting. They were trying to boot from the iPod, which isn't going to work. So it's just a weird situation. But yeah, I've seen all kinds of things. All right, cool. And yeah, we weren't here last week. Sorry about that, but I usually announce it on the OMARC stuff, but it might have gone out over our Groups IO group as well. I think we have some non-members on there, but you can also join as an out-of-the-area member, which we have people who've done. Anyway, Tom, into FCC. What's with you tonight?
W2NDG in the group into FCC. Just had another plate of turkey, so I'm sleepy. Not too much. Got all the Christmas decorations up. That's a whole wiring, intricate wiring, running extension cords and multi-plugs and stuff. Because I got 5 inflatables, and star showers, and all that other stuff. You're locked up. Let me try this one. I got the desk mic. It's got you can lock it in 2 different ways. And I accidentally locked it. The other thing I'm working on is my son who's moving gave me the Xerox printer. Uses solid ink, like a $2,000 printer when he got it. And he had it in storage for a while. It's given me problems. I think the rollers are dirty because the prints are very blurry. The other thing is getting to work on the network was a little bit of a problem. Xerox stopped supporting the drivers for this a while ago, but it seems to work better wirelessly than through the Ethernet connection. My desktop is a couple times I've had to uninstall and reinstall it to get it to work, and then it seems to only want to work in monochrome, even after I tell it to do color. Although I did have it working yesterday. I got to take it apart and clean the rollers because the print is not good, but it's really cool solid ink printer. One other thing is I had a Moxon 6-meter antenna that I absolutely loved. Fortunately, I was moving it on the tower once. It dropped it, and then it became nothing but modern art sculpture. I never replaced it. That's my story here. And to FCC, back to that.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people, when we talk about various antennas in any forum, it seems there's always somebody who had something that's now, resembling spaghetti or whatever it happened to it. The printer brought back a memory. And I was thinking about it recently because even though I haven't owned this printer in a very long time, Amazon reminded me that I needed toner for it, which I thought was interesting because when I got rid of it, I put it out on the curb. Um, so I'm wondering if whoever has it networked it or finally decided to try to fix it or whatever they did with it, and it started reporting as if I was still the owner to Amazon that it needed toner. I don't know. But I had a Brother color laser that we bought because Jill and I do a lot of our own printing for her business, and it was great. It did everything I needed it to do. It had built-in duplexing and a lot of features I needed. And what happened was I think I replaced the first time I went through the toners. I did Brother toner, and everything was fine. And then I decided to do generic toner after the first year. I figured the warranty's up. What the heck? And I picked toner on Amazon that had good reviews. And I started noticing maybe a month or so after I had changed the toner cartridges that everything had like a cloudy grayish background. Let me try. Yeah, everything I printed had the printing itself was still sharp, but everything was coming out with this background, like I had been using like light grayish brown paper or something. And it wasn't even either. It would come in little waves and streaks. And I did some research and, figured, well, it's got to be this third-party toner. So, I dealt with it for a little while and then ordered the Brother cartridges again, which were not cheap. Ordering all four, the three colors in black, probably ran more than I paid for the printer. And I put them in, and it continued to print the cloudy background. So at the time, my landlord, this was the last house we were in down on Long Island, is in the business. He works for a company that makes liquid and solid toner and does a lot of commercial printing stuff. And I told him what was going on. And he said, yeah, so it was, like third-party toner and a Brother laser? Yeah. And he said, told him about the cloudy background. He goes, yeah, let me guess. You went and you bought Brother toner again. I said, yeah. And he said, and it's still doing it. I'm like, yes, it is. And he said, the only way to get it to stop is to completely disassemble the printer down to every last part and clean it by hand and put it back together. And I said, hell no. And bought the printer that I have today, which was my first venture back into inkjet, which I used to despise. But this Brother inkjet printer I have in here has been flawless, and I would gladly buy another one when it finally quits, if it ever finally quits. So don't know why yours wouldn't like hardwire network, though. That's weird. All right, let me drop. So we've gone around once. I know we didn't really hit on any general topic. We've hit on a bunch of things, but that's fine. Anyway, I think sometimes we just enjoy gabbing about technology in general. I have the news here going on also. I am trying to multitask a little bit. And for you Raspberry Pi people, interesting piece of news came up today. Something called the Seaberry. That's Seaberry. The Seaberry ITX is it's a motherboard, a carrier board, basically, designed to take one of the Raspberry Pi compute modules and basically gives you a Raspberry Pi based mini ITX board with all of the standard expansion slots and everything that you would get out of a mini ITX board, and something you could put in the mini ITX case. Kind of cool. I don't think they're currently available, but I'm going to keep an eye on this one because I think somebody else might do this as well. So, just something to watch. All right, one more drop. and an ID, W2NDG on the OMARC Sunday Night Science and Technology Net. Let's see if there's anybody else who wants to join in the rotation here. And like I said, just random stuff tonight. We'll go around again and see if anybody has any comments on anything else that anybody else said. But if anybody wants to check in, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location.
This is KD2 KJU Jet West Hurley.
Good evening, Jed. There was a noisy station right before you. I don't think that was you because you're close enough to the repeater that you could pretty much key it up by yelling at it. So if the other station is there, if you have more power or a different rig or some other way to get in, please try again.
This is KD2 YFU, Alex from Hudson, New York.
No, welcome, KD2 YFU, Alec from Hudson, New York. Good to hear you on the net. We're pretty much just open discussion tonight. So, and we have Jed and Alec. Anybody else? All right. So whatever is on your mind, things you might want to talk about, or if you were listening to some of the other discussion, you can bring up something that somebody else has already brought up, further comment on it. Jed, I have to, just as an aside to your day job there, I had somebody doing my gutters, and because they had a rather powerful blower they were using, he asked if he wanted me to clean up the yard real quick, and I said sure. And he blew one of my blink cameras right off of the tree. I got to find the bracket. I found the camera, but God knows where the bracket ended up. My own fault for not pointing it out, but it was kind of like dusk when he did it. But Jed, you're first, and anything you want to talk about tonight?
All right, Neil, good evening. Good evening to everyone else on the net. And, oh, yeah, the amount of stuff, and really you don't mean to. It's kind of not, I mean, it is your fault. You're the one pointing a blower at it, but some stuff is not held up, maybe the way you want it. We were working at some guy's house in right in Woodstock a couple weeks ago, and this kid that we had working with us, great kid, he was just walking by the side of his house with the blower on low and knocked about 4 or 5, I'm not exactly sure what they're called, but just pieces of wood off the, I guess siding would be a good name for it, but they were just held up on each other. They weren't nailed into anything. They were just kind of stacked up on the side of his house. The more and more we realized that that's how his whole house was. So we had to be very careful, and we kind of let him know, and he was extremely unhappy that it was just kind of placed on there. But, at least he knows, and he can fix it now if he wants to. I guess I don't really have too much for tonight. I actually did have a quick question, if you don't mind.
No, of course not. That's why we're here. And I have to tell you that the squirrels and the birds have managed to remove this one camera. It's not on there very tight.
Oh, yeah, stuff really just goes flying. Normally, you're not trying to point it at the house or anything like that. having dead pixels. It has 3 white pixels. And I've looked around the internet and I've found some things about that. I'm going to send this thing back, obviously. I'm just wondering, I didn't notice these at first, and I believe it to be a manufacturer's defect. But I know you're a lot more familiar with computers than I am, and I was wondering if you could shed any light on that. I don't think it's my fault. I don't see how I could have caused this, but just before I call the company and everything, and after an exchange or a refund, I was just wondering if you could shed any light on that. Back over to you, Bill.
So just for verification, so you have a stuck pixel that's white instead of a dead one that's black?
Yes, correct. There's 3 of them. One is extremely, looks like the North Star of the 3, but that's what I was.
All right. And actually, our next check-in might know more about this than I do. I'm not sure of that. But his knowledge of displays is better than mine. I'm guessing because, when we think of a pixel can be usually one of several colors, which is, and then those colors combined create the correct colors that we interpret with our eyes. And I would guess that there's a short. So that particular pixel you're getting all of the colors at once, or white. And that short would also, I imagine, possibly make it very bright. Now, I'm just guessing here. I haven't even looked it up. But to me, that's what it would mean. I haven't seen that myself. That's a first. I've only seen the dead ones, which is what we're used to. But that's interesting. And yes, I would definitely send it back. Wow. I haven't, I've had very good luck with monitors. Really. And working in an environment where we have so many of them, we do every now and then we'll get somebody who, is picky. And of course, there's nothing wrong with being picky. If you can see that spot, it's going to drive you crazy. It's like that little scratch in your windshield that drives you crazy. So we do get them once in a while. Someone will call up and, they have either a handful of pixels that appear dead, or sometimes a line. We don't get that see in the display that has that hairline across it when you have a whole row that goes out. But it also depends on what kind of work you do. And believe me, we have some people who have some really high-end, color-correct, super high-res monitors, and every now and then someone will come in and point out a defect to me that I can't see. I have to get somebody else's opinion, but it happens. But I'm guessing it's some kind of shorting that gives you all of the colors at once. And that's why it appears to be white. But that's interesting. So, all right, Chet. Let's see. Next we have KD2, YFU. Alec from Hudson. What's on your mind tonight, Alec? And am I barking up the right tree with the monitor, do you think?
Sounds to me like you are correct about the monitor. I don't know a whole lot either off the top of my head, but to me that sounds pretty correct. What's on my mind tonight? Well, right now I am making chicken pot pie, so mostly just listening in. I will make a comment about the printer from earlier, though. I will say I am amazed that your jet is still alive, and I still do not own the nightmare machine that is the prison. Back to now.
W2NDG on the OMARC Sunday Night Science and Technology Net. Well, thanks, Alec. And actually, I have a printer for you that I've been saving. An old brother multifunction given to me by my brother. But yeah, I'm also surprised that the Brother Inkjet multifunction that I picked up next is still functioning and functioning as well as it does. any of you that have ever come out to see Jill and I at a craft fair or a flea market, most of our graphics are printed by that printer. With only a couple of exceptions, I do everything on that printer, and it's been a workhorse and no complaints. So, but anyway, pretty cool. And also interesting that you mentioned you were cooking because, like I said, I'll save that topic for another night. But we spent a whole night talking about food preservation and its effect on progress. Really, we weren't able to go places and travel and explore until we learned how to bring things to eat with us, because who knows what's there. Back in the early days of exploration, they looked at going to somewhere like North America, South America, as another planet. They didn't know what they were going to find as far as edibles. So anyway, that was another night we spent talking about that. But what I was going to bring up was cooking, because what is cooking? We will come back to this, I think, in a future net, but sometimes cooking is removing moisture from food. Sometimes cooking is adding moisture to food. And there's definitely high-tech ways of cooking and low-tech ways of cooking, and very traditional methods and very esoteric and involved methods. So it's just, I don't know, I think it's a topic. So we can come and do that another night, because we're going to try to make tonight a little shorter. Anyway, that's where we are, and we can zoom through again real quick. Let's do a final round here. I'm sorry to keep things so short tonight, but I do have a bit to do before I hit the road in the morning, and it was a busy day, mostly wrestling with these routers. WA2RKN, Jerry, anything else to add tonight?
Nothing really to contribute this evening, so thanks for that. Sort of interesting listening on what's going on in other people's lives. WA2RKN, back to that.
Well, that's fine, and please keep me posted on the trials and tribulations of that computer. I'm curious how it works out and how you resolve the missing display issues and things like that. And we've talked about Linux before, and I am a fan, and the one computer I destroyed here that I can't get going again is just going to get Linux put back on it. I think I will just take a quick look and make sure that there isn't anything I need on it important, and then I'll completely wipe it. So, all right. Matt, KB2GGF, any comments on anything else you heard tonight?
No, I'm fairly commented out. Just thinking maybe it'd be fun to make a Moxon for 2 meters and see how that thing performs. Because I could probably do that in about 5 minutes. So I might just do that. Very interesting to hear everything today, and glad to listen to everything people did have to comment about. And I think it's about time for me to turn it back to net control and say thank you very much. And 73 is KB2GGF.
All right, Matt. And I think we all had a busy, long weekend. And some of us actually worked Friday. So, but I'll be curious. Yeah, the first Moxon that I wanted to do was a 2 meter one. But there's questions there. Also, I was always curious if you could make a stacked multiband one. Another good question. So I don't know if the elements would cause issues with each other. I don't know how far apart each layer would have to be, but definitely something to look into. All right. Lou from West Milford. Sorry to give you such a short and basic net tonight, but we'll probably be back next weekend with a real topic and a deeper dive into something.
That's fine, Neil. Every little bit that somebody comments about some little issue they're having makes you think about times you've had it, or kind of good. It kind of stores in your brain. That's the opportunity when it does come up. Hey, we just discussed that on the radio one night. But good net, no matter what, no matter how short it is, it's always a good net with the discussion and the topics and different issues. So anyways, not much more to add. Thank you for running the net tonight. I know you were probably tired, running around. It's almost like doing work at home that you normally do at work. So probably felt shortcutted one day off instead of let's say having a relaxing day off. You end up working on a project or something. I know the feeling. But anyways, you're heading back into the city tomorrow for work, so careful on your commute, safe week, and we'll talk next Sunday night. So all the best to you and everybody else on the net. KD2 TVS Lou.
All right, Lou, thanks. And I don't mind doing that kind of work at home. It's kind of when I got into IT as a career, I always told people it was a matter of merging one of my hobbies and my work life. So, I do what I do because I find it fascinating and interesting, and it's like solving mysteries. There's always something every day that keeps me fascinated, and I have to figure out. And one of the other comments I always tell people, I love being in IT because every day there's something that makes me say, wow, that's cool. So anyway, all right, thanks, Lou, and we'll catch you back here next week, and maybe during the week, various nets and things that occur here. Tom, into FCC and Fishkill. Any closing or passing comments tonight on everything else?
Interesting that. Yeah, you probably can stack moxons, but I don't know how far apart you'd have to keep them. The show about cooking probably would be as interesting as the one about adhesives, because that was very interesting. And you talk about food, and History Channel has this series, "The Food That Made America," and there's some interesting stuff about the creation of different candies and craft cheeses and stuff. That all technology. And you look at what wasn't and is now very interesting stuff. So I'm sure that'll be an interesting night. And we'll have a good night. Then to FCC back tonight.
All right, thanks, Tom. And yeah, it's one of those aspects of food, along with, one of the things being into natural and foraged foods. One of the things that a lot of us always wonder, because, everything you buy in the produce department in your supermarket started as something that grows somewhere, and some of these things are pretty involved prep. Who's the guy who figured out the wrong way to do it? That's what I always wanted to know. Who's the guy who discovered that the rhubarb leaves weren't good for you? Who's the guy who discovered that if a potato starts to turn green, it's not good? Things like that. So that's what I want to know. Who figured out some of these really intricate veggies like an artichoke? Wow, who even thought that it was edible to begin with, and then how? Cool stuff. All right, thanks, Tom. Jed, KD2KJU. Anything else for us here tonight?
Neil. Not too much more to add. And yeah, that spot does absolutely drive me nuts. Every time I see it, my eyes just attracted to it. I've tried to just, stay away from it, but and it's the first laptop I've bought in a very long time. It's just kind of sad to see the quality control be this bad, but I seem to be one of the few that actually has this particular problem with this laptop. So there are other problems with it, but I don't seem to have them. So yep, going back. Yeah, moccasine antennas, a smaller size that seems to have decent gain. Just not as good as Yagi's, but they're certainly more compact, and you can hit them or hide them. I don't know if you're exactly hiding one. I built one for 6 meters 2 summers ago out of PVC pipe and ran some, I think it was 12 gauge wire around that. And it worked all right. I couldn't, the PVC, I kind of just, it was a spur of the moment thing. I didn't have the right, PVC pipe was too heavy for what I was doing. I actually just, I'm thinking about putting together a 10-meter one, and I'd like to put, my goal is to make 2 of them. I'd like to make one out of some really small diameter copper piping, which would obviously be more sturdy. And then I also have one that I'm trying to make out of driveway sticks, I guess would be the best thing they are called. I think they're about 6 or 8 feet long. I'm just giving my stuff to play around with in the winter. I've seen plans for them out there, and I figured those would be a little bit lighter and more hardy than PVC. So yeah, and a 2-meter one, I've seen people build them, and I've seen them to work pretty nice. I actually started looking into moccasins because on the Cape, there's kind of only one direction you really want to point, and it's towards, especially 2 meters or 440. Well, there is no 440 up there, but for 2 meters, you're not getting much going out towards the ocean. So you kind of want something that's pointing towards.
Well, you timed out there, Jed, but right ended right where you said you're not going to get much pointing at the ocean. So, and I was thinking, yeah, the closest thing would be the Azores, and they're a little far away.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I did not hear that on the timeout on my end. Yeah, there's not going to be much out there that way, so I figured that would, obviously pointing it towards the mainland would be the best way to go about it. And I think they kind of look neat. I also think Yagis look real nice too, but not everyone thinks that. A little rectangle of copper isn't that bad to lay the eyes on. So, all right, yeah, I'll send it back to Net. I appreciate you running it, and I'll say good evening to everybody else, and I will be on the side from KJU.
All right, Jed. And you got me thinking, I was poking around in my ceiling earlier today because I was rerouting some Cat 6 cable I have running as part of this. And previous homeowner left me a lot of stuff. There's lengths of PVC up there, but there's copper pipe, quite a bit. So I don't know. I have to see how much I have, and I know you, I believe, have made copper J-poles. Maybe I'll do it. It's one of the few products that the reincarnation of Heathkit, which does exist again, the Heathkit company. We keep hoping they'll come up with something more interesting than this, but it is kind of cool as they make an antenna called the pipe antenna, which is specifically designed for people who live in like HOA situations. And it's an antenna that's simply designed to look like plumbing. And in most places you put it, people won't realize what it is. Yeah, it's kind of a cool idea. But Moxon out of small copper tubing as well. Be interesting. Or, like I was wondering if I could get a flat one to go together on a piece of plexiglass or thin piece of plastic using the copper tape I was talking about earlier. If you didn't hear that, I have a couple of different projects I was doing where I was creating antennas out of copper foil tape. So, all right, thanks, Jed, and keep me posted on these antenna ideas. I'm always interested. KD2YFU, Alec, any parting thoughts, final comments? You can tell as call signs are assigned in alphabetical order. Alec is one of our newest hams on here, only by a month or so.
Thank you, Dad. No final thoughts for me. Just making some delicious food, and I was happy to have the privilege to stop in and listen to some wonderful conversations tonight. And nothing else for me, I would say. Thank you for the net, and back to you all. That's great.
All right, thanks. And for those of you who didn't figure it out earlier, Alec has confirmed, yes, Alec is my son. And we are happy to have him on here. So cool. And with all the compliments, he is fishing for a really, really cool Hanukkah gift this year. Just kidding. Anyway, no, I'm glad you stopped by, and feel free to pop in again. We love having anyone on here, but I love when new hams start joining in, because we love helping new hams out and guiding them and getting them into the hobby. And the more the merrier, the more the better. Are there any last minute end of net check-ins? Please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location.
Okay. N3UIQ Paul. Oh, how to work. I'm trying to listen while I work, but you know how that works.
Oh, that's all right, Paul. We thank you for stopping by. You have any, you probably heard some of what was going on. It was just open discussion tonight on a lot of things, Linux, antennas, knocking cameras off of trees, a lot of different things. Actually weird dead pixels on monitors. But any comments or anything you want to bring up or add before we close things out tonight?
No, not really. I really didn't get the gist of most of it, because in the store there it's kind of poor reception until you get by the doors. Hanukkah gifts, huh? You spread Christmas over 8 days. Is that how that works? N3UIQ.
My favorite analogy for what it's about, the event in Jewish history that it honors or commemorates, is I keep seeing this every year. Someone shows a picture of a cell phone with 1 bar of battery left. So imagine this is your phone. Now imagine that it lasted for 8 days. I love that analogy. That's great. Truth be told, Hanukkah, in the mix of Jewish events and Jewish history and things that have happened, is a very, very minor occurrence and very, very minor story. And it is made popular and made important by when it happens, and obviously, being alternative to Christmas for people of the faith. And it's a fun holiday. It really is. The Festival of Lights. And I think I know where my menorah is. I have to fish it out. And of course, appropriately, W2NDG has a high-tech menorah. It's a microprocessor-based LED one where you plug it in to a 5-volt source, and every time you hit the button on it, it cycles another light on until the 8th night when the whole thing is lit up. But I thought it was cool, and it looks nice in the window. So a little safer than leaving candles burning, but I do have a nice candle menorah as well. All right. That's as far as we'll go with that tonight, but thanks for checking in, Paul, and bringing up something I could expand on a little bit at least. Let me drop. I'd like to thank everybody for attending this week's Sunday night OMARC Science and Technology Net. Shorter net than we usually do, but thank you everybody for stopping by. We had a good crowd, and we had some good things brought up, and I've made notes, and I'll bring things up again in the future when we sit down again. This net is brought to you by the Overlook Mountain Amateur Radio Club. The OMARC Club holds regular nets on this frequency. In addition to this net, every morning at 8:35 a.m. is a roundtable style net called 835 on the 805. Started at the beginning of the pandemic by Paul AC2UQ and Bob K2LD. It was an expansion of a every morning conversation that they would have, and grew into a way for us to be social and make sure that everybody was okay as we were all stuck at home and trying to figure out where to get things. And it was a great resource, and it continues to this day. Every evening at 6:30 p.m. is the OMARC check-in net, similar in function, but a directed net held by a rotating cast of OMARC characters as net control. Stop by. It's usually runs 2 rounds and won't interfere with your evening plans or dinner that much. It's not a particularly long net. Every Tuesday night, but I believe shifting to Mondays soon, is a under net, which is the Ulster and Northern Duchess Readiness Net, designed to get us ready for emergency communications. MCOM and ham radio is a changing thing at the moment, trying to evolve, trying to be reinvented in some ways. But we want to get involved, and this is our way of doing it. So in the meantime, we're going to practice and we're going to get ready. It's a cool net. They do all sorts of neat technical things and make sure that people understand what it means to be ready and ready to go. Every Thursday night, Dave, K2JLV, OMARC's president, runs the Thursday night Tech Net, which is similar to this net, but usually a ham radio or computer or electronics ham radio related topic. Dave takes check-ins, goes through and see if anybody has any specific questions or troubleshooting problems or a topic they want to dive into. If that doesn't occur, Dave spins the topic wheel and comes up with one for us. Always a fun net. Sometimes runs 4 or 5 rounds into the night as we take a deep dive into somebody's issue or a cool topic somebody brought up. As usual, you do not need to be a member of our club to participate in any of these nets or to use our repeater. We do encourage it, though. If you'd like to become a member, you can check us out at omarcclub.org, omarcclub.org. And there's almost always somebody listening and a friendly bunch of people. I am Neil, W2NDG in Highland, New York, and I'm going to turn the repeater back over to regular use. As usual, I will hang out and listen for 5 to 10 minutes if anybody wants to chat about anything that was going on. But everybody have a good night. 7-3. Thanks for stopping by. Ending YouTube stream now.